This Dark Wolf series podcast is brought to you by Bravo Company Manufacturing.
What we're doing here is going to echo through time.
Ben, what do you care about?
Loyalty. I have intel. We're being played.
How did you first get this script? Like, does a manager or an agent get contacted by a casting agency, and then they find you and they give you like a little bit of a background, or they hand you an episode or a scene? How did that work?
So you first get a scene or two. I think I got two. I got the motorcycle scene.
Yep.
Please tell me that's an R60.
Haverford told me you ride.
Yeah.
They're useful surveillance tools in Europe.
Got the R9T. All right, which one's mine?
Take your pick. Even in Europe, a woman on a motorcycle attracts attention. Unless she's riding pillion.
And I got the scene outside the university in the book market.
Right.
Above all, I'm not concerned with poetry. The subject of it is war. And the pity of war.
Poetry's in the pity. Owen died November 1918. Killed in action, age 25. 1 week before the armistice.
The pity of war.
If that doesn't make your daughter recognize the potential cost.
So these were the two scenes, and it was so well written. I could really sense who she was when I got the scenes, and only after I got the part, I was giving the scripts. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you didn't know, and we can do spoilers in this because it's months afterward, and we're doing spoilers, kind of going behind the scenes on things. So, did you know? At what point did you find out that you weren't going to make it to the final episode? Was that a surprise to you, or did you know before you read the script?
It was. I remember reading it, and my heart dropped because there was an initial monologue that didn't make the final cut because there were so many changes going through the scripts over time, but that's such an amazing monologue. And then the day after, she obviously dies. And I remember thinking, is she really dead? Or is that Mossad decision to pull her out to make it look like she's dead? Because knowing Mossad, that wouldn't surprise me if they'd done it. I was like, that's so interesting. Because it felt like something happens between Eliza and Ben, and then she dies. And I was like, wow, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Bummed, but awesome.
Yeah. And the way you guys filmed it, like it became the kind of the death of a possibility of something that could happen when you guys get in that Mini and start driving. And there's a lifting of the tension that has been there from the beginning, but especially in the everything through this last episode, that episode 5. It's like the possibility of a future and then just extinguished. Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
What appealed to you about the character right away, and reading those first couple scripts, and then those scenes, doing those scenes, and then getting the scripts and reading it through to your final scene? What appealed to you about this character? Because she's awesome. I mean, I love this character.
She's so awesome. She's look, there's so many action heroines, and I always try to find the the dramatic part underneath what they're doing. And Eliza felt like such a rounded character. I mean, the way she carried herself on the op. And just the subtlety of the way she trusts herself without needing to explain herself or getting approval from anyone, having a secret, having a double mission, and having that secret kept, and coordinating a mission within a mission, which I felt was so smart and beautiful. And there was something about her that she always knew that she's so minimal, and the way she reads the room, she has this, like, it almost felt like there was data and information kind of downloading in her brain, and she's assessing all the time what's happening. And it blew my mind. I fell in love with her so fast. I kept reading. I was like, this is amazing. And you know, the other element of her being a mother, which I felt gave her both fragility and danger, because she really believes in the mission and in the cause. You know, the cause on the show is, you know, disable Iran going nuclear. And it's funny. I thought about it when I was in Israel and I was pregnant, and there was a war with Iran, and just by luck I went to my mom because she has a safe room, and there was a missile just falling right by my house, and so that felt so real. It really hit home. It's really the sense of life and death is so, it's the reality that we live in. And underneath that, being a mother and really wanting to change the world for your kids, almost saying, I'm gonna do everything in my power to ensure a better future for my child. And the risk, because she's a single mom, you know, and she raises her by herself, and knowing that there is a chance, like in any mission, any undercover agent knows that they might go on a mission and never come back. There's this one time that you don't come back. And yeah, that really gave her another realm of depth that really resonated with me, because I already knew I wanted to become a mom, and it really gave me a lot of drive with that character. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, coming back how personal it is for you and Shiraz, and especially, you know, after right around this time the show's coming out too, we're gearing up for it, and so much is happening between the United States, Israel, and Iran. It was crazy.
Insane. It was insane. Yeah.
Wild. Now, your first bar scene, what was that like to film? Where they don't know, and the audience doesn't quite know yet, who's the undercover agent inside this bar scene, and the guys walk in and they're, all kind of John Wicked out in James Bond out in Tom's case, and go in there, and then you bring up the pistols and the cigar box and all of that.
A pint of ale for the Rhodesian and a lager for the pirate. Your credit card, Hastings. Keep up appearances.
What was it like filming that scene?
It was incredible. It was the first 3 days of shooting for me, so right in the action. And I loved how Fred, the director, our amazing director, filmed that sequence, because it was like theater for me. So the whole thing, we shot the whole thing like a long mise-en-scene, as if the audience were there with us, they could have seen the whole thing in one shot. And it just blew my mind. I loved it. And it felt like doing theater to me.
Interesting.
And with the way that the camera moved, it made us, we needed to be so precise and hit, the mark, both in the mise-en-scene and also, acting wise,
Right.
which I loved. I love that. It was such an amazing challenge.
Yeah, I remember that script. It morphed a little bit. There was like the drinking game thing morphed a little bit, and then there was grabbing the salt shakers, and once it was like it was
Yeah.
going to be Ben that grabbed them, and then it was going to be you that grabbed them, and so it's interesting to see how these things evolve based off because it's so interesting like that psychological aspect of thinking you have something on the page, even with something as small as like a social media post, and you're going to post it and you've like read it, maybe you wrote it the day before, and then right before you go to hit like post, you're like, wait a second, and you catch that thing because in our minds, you know, some that this is the last time you'll see it. Same thing with the books when I'm editing the books, and my editor has seen it, the copy editors have seen it, meaning that's all the spelling, grammar, punctuation people, and then my last chance to see it on my third pass, fourth pass, fifth pass, whatever it is, I catch things and that no one else caught. And it happens every single time. But I felt like that's the scripts too, and that they're these living documents, and that you guys bring so much to these characters that forces a change because it's so natural now that you've brought something that you can't imagine sitting in a static room, almost like planning a mission. Like you plan the mission, and in the room it sounds great in the air conditioned, office or whatever you're planning it in, planning area in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then you step out and it's like, oh, this isn't exactly what it was like in that nice air conditioned space. And now it's 127 degrees. We have all this stuff on, and there are these other elements that we didn't account for. No matter how many contingencies we think about in that air conditioned room, it's not like that when we hit the ground. And it's similar with these scripts. And it's so cool that I think that we do that because I've heard from other sets that sometimes it's very rigid and they don't let any changes happen. They don't let the actors bring anything to it. And then you guys bring so much to these roles and like humanize them, personalize them, get to know these characters in a way that we don't in a room when it's being written. And then you get to bring all this. And so that forces a change in the script. Not forces, that's the wrong word. It very naturally evolves the script to be to a level above what was done in the writer's room. And that scene is one of them. There were changes happening all the way throughout, like day of filming.
Yeah. And I love that. I believe in I always come super prepared, like because it gives me then on the day of, as you said, you envision something and then you come to set and it's just different because the door is here and not there, and then you have to move here, and then you have to say something different because of the scenery is different, and then you have to be so flexible.
Yeah.
And for me, what helps me the most is just rehearsing and coming prepared so then I have the most freedom and I can let go and be in the moment and then being able to create something new. Yeah.
Make the deal. We need to chase this.
Deal.
Yeah, so cool to watch that happen and then be a part of it when I'm on set. I love being on set. I'm there as much as I can. But then like a little bit after that, there was the scene just in the coffee shop, cafe, outdoor area where you're talking and you're kind of like, yeah, Jed Haverford's back here doing it, but you're like on scene and you come across like as the on scene commander essentially, like, no, do this, do that, make the trade, that sort of thing. And then thinking on your feet, doing the coffee spill on those two guys that are coming in. But how much was it fun filming all those scenes? What was it? What was your experience like doing that one?
I love that. There's a sense of sophistication in that series, which I love. And it also was very much so on the terminal list on the first season as well. It's just so sophisticated, and it kept on going with Dark Wolf and just the subtlety and the professionalism of the characters. Like they might be new to one another as a team, but you can see the skill set of each and every one of them. And then you see them come together and becoming one and serving the same cause, and how it kind of plays on the day, and just watching Rafe and watching Mo and hearing Landry, and it comes alive. It's just so
Yeah.
great. So yeah, gives it like an adrenaline sense that only happens on set. So
Yeah.
Tal, they're coming to you. Fuck, they went left. Hold here.
And there's an interesting dynamic with you and Shiraz and your characters. So there's an interesting dynamic with you guys personally, because this is Shiraz's essentially first time doing something as tall in this thing, and she's stepping into this with these actors who have done a bunch of things before, and she crushes it. It was so amazing. But you guys had that relationship as characters in the show. She's coming in as the kind of the tech person, and then you're their field person, but you have this experience already with Masad, and she's younger, and then you have this also in real life, in that you've been in Fauda, you've been dancing your whole life, and you've been in these shows, and then she's coming in for the first time. What was that relationship like on and off the camera?
I think it really served our relationship on screen because obviously not my first rodeo, and for her it was a little bit like that. It is one of her first ever roles, and it kind of made me want to be there for her, like protect her and guide her, and just feeling not to overstep, but for her to feel like she can confide with me, and giving her the sense that she can do it.
Mhm.
And I think as Eliza and Tal, it was also like that.
Mhm.
They come as Israelis to an American team, and they have each other, and they also have an undercover mission within the mission, and just guiding her and protecting her. Obviously, what happens with Landry on that day,
Yeah.
um, which was, I love that scene.
Make me.
Get out! Get out! Open the
Right, girlfriend.
I'm not your fucking girlfriend. את לא מבינה, זה בן של
זה החדר שלי.
Oh boy, okay.
בוא, קבל אותך. מי אתה חושב שאתה? אני שונא.
Do it again, I cut your balls off.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that one. Like that was one that morphed also from the writer's room, trying to find the right tone, and figure out a way then to kind of in the eyes of an audience rehabilitate Landry for a second in the tunnel sequence, and make it kind of work in this gray area of espionage, and having to complete a mission and not trusting someone, and having someone who's also laying these little breadcrumbs for what's going to happen in True Believer. So Landry's kind of on this path, this descent into darkness as well. And we're like, especially for people who have read the book, they know where he ends up. And so leaving those little breadcrumbs as well, thinking about, okay, we also have hopefully is another season to continue that downward spiral to get him to the place where he is in the terminal, or in Terminalist True Believer season 2, which we filmed, which is also awesome, by the way. And especially Landry's character, seeing his physical transformation, like haircut, body, like everything with him is just it's so fantastic to see. But what was that scene like for you, where Landry goes way over the line, and you jump in there? What was that scene like?
I mean, it was amazing for Eliza to, I think it's the first time, and I think maybe the only time, where she loses composure,
Mm.
because it hits in the most in her soft spot. I think in many ways, she sees Tal as her daughter, and she has this obligation to make it safe for her out in the world. And there's a toughness to Eliza that comes from experience that Tal is not yet there. And for Eliza, it's like, not on my watch.
Right.
And she loses it. You see her going about the op, and with the guys, and she never loses. She has this, just, she's centered and she's balanced. And then this happens, and she snaps, and something bursts out of her, like the animal that she keeps inside, like her own dark wolf, like her animal. And it was really cool that she had that moment of why she loses it. Being a woman in a man's world, being a woman and having to fight for your place in the world. And then seeing that happen to your protege, someone that you groom to be maybe one day like you, and giving her all the experience and the knowledge that you know, and then someone tries to hurt them, and just going off and not letting that happen.
If it's okay with you, I'd love to have a word with Landry. It's been a long time coming.
It was a good lesson for Tal. Plenty of Landrys in this world.
Yeah.
And it gives you and Ben then a moment also after that, in the aftermath of that, he comes to check. And that's a cool moment as well.
Cool moment. And then she says something true, like, because Ben then asks maybe Landry shouldn't come to the mission. And then she says, obviously they need him because they need the manpower, and she says, Tal needs to learn. There's also this learning curve. Like, next time you're going to have to save yourself. I'm not going to always be here for you. And when something like this happens, you have to protect yourself. You have to, this is how you do it. If someone is coming at you, you need to attack. And that was a beautiful moment. Like, there are plenty of Landrys in the world. It's like setting your kids to the world. Like, I can teach her so much, but then she's going to have to hold her ground on her own. And yeah.
That's a great moment for you and Ben. And then tunnel sequence. Let's talk tunnel sequence. That was a crazy one. So cool. Once again, you're running and gunning and look so natural with it all. When you go through that window, it's such a cool scene when you stick your right through there and like, it's like so natural. I get stitched up in that scene. Landry gets me. I get to go down and get my stuntman pay. And I got to take a fall. That was awesome. And but doing that whole sequence, what was that? What was that like for you to do that? We had the oneer going through the tunnel, and then the outside with RPGs, explosions, and people shooting, ambush. It was smokers, all that stuff going on. What was that day like, or a couple days?
Couple of days. Honestly, just watching everyone work around me on that, the level of creativity and craftsmanship, and what Kenny did with the camera and having it be like a one shot. I mean, we shot it. It was just so cool. And because the timing of it needs to be so perfect. And the explosion to where the camera goes out and you see Ben and you see Mo kind of getting into business and Ben still being in it, and Eliza knocking on the door. So everything was timed perfectly. And again, it was like dance.
Yeah.
Just a badass one, but a dance.
Yeah, that was really cool. And what people might not know is that we filmed what happens after that when you guys go through the door, the end of that episode 4. We filmed it before in this crazy tunnel outside of Budapest.
Right.
And it was like, I think it was a place where they put together, like, I think the Germans had it putting together bombers near the end of World War II. So it was underground in these tunnels. I think they were building bombers in there, but it was this crazy tunnel thing. And I think it was also, now people go there to dive. They actually have a diving thing, like a cave dive, and you do scuba stuff and you go down and they lead tours essentially into these. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it was maybe a brewery at some point, or they put wine in there. Regardless, it's wild where we filmed those, and we filmed that before.
Wow.
So what was it like to film those sequences with Taylor? And no one saw that coming. Like the end of episode 4, when that episode dropped, no one saw that coming, and people loved it.
No one. Yeah, I think they didn't. Yeah, they write me a lot. Like, how? What? How?
I need fucking magazines.
It was great. I remember reading it for the first time. I was like, ooh, wow. it was great. It was sense of danger. And first of all, I have to say the locations on the series, the locations that we were at in Budapest in Hungary, just blew my mind. And this tunnel in particular, there was something so dark about it and so historic. And you were thinking about everything that happened in there, and then you walk in and you shoot a scene, and it was very well made. And obviously, it led to Ben feeling so betrayed. For Eliza, it was a bit different. Eliza kind of failed her mission, keeping him alive in a way. But yeah, it was really surprising. No one saw that coming.
Yeah, if you'll love that, and it was so good. Yeah, that area was just wild to be in those tunnels all day. Things were roped off because there were still dangerous areas. So we have places that are roped off, and our safety coordinators going through and making sure you're not going to wander off, get lost in these things.
Freezing inside. Remember the deeper that we went in, it was so cold. I remember that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
very cool that day in there. I guess it's always cold in there, hence the wine or the beer or whatever they were doing in there after World War II, after they weren't building bombers in there anymore. But that was a really special place to film. Very cool to have been able to just see that and experience that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
And it's interesting to see that Hollywood magic for me because I'm still pretty new to it. I guess it's been since Chris optioned the book in 2018. Dave and I started working on the first pilot in 2019. We started filming in 2021, came out in 2022, and then this. So I guess it's not as but it's only one thing. It's not multiple shows. It's still the same universe with the same team and all of that. So I don't have this vast experience. So I'm always amazed at how seamless it is where you're in this tunnel sequence. We do that. You'll film that for a couple days. Amazing. And have already before that filmed what happens when you open this door and go into this tunnel, this passageway that's supposed to be right off this tunnel, but is really in a whole different part of Hungary. It's really cool
Yeah.
for me to see that Hollywood magic come together to morph these stories and then see it come together in the edits and all of that. It's really really cool. But is it one thing you were saying when you're saying that your character kind of had this list of data that's going through? You have some great lines, and one of them made the trailer, I think, and it was when everybody gets out of the van and you're like, and everybody's sizing each other up, and you're like, don't worry, you guys are all equally pretty.
Yeah. I love that. I love that that interaction with the boys. They're assessing each other and they're like, wait, now we have to work with and this ego, macho, manly, like, and then this lady comes in like, you're all equally pretty. Let's go. We have a mission to do. It was really cool.
Princess, time to wake up.
Yep, okay. Thanks, Mom.
Everything copacetic?
Don't worry, ladies. You're all equally pretty.
Yeah, I love that because every person in the world knows that. Everybody knows when
Yeah.
guys get together is like, okay, sizing everybody up, and then you break the tension with that. I love that. It was fantastic. You did such a perfect job delivering that. And you're also the only one working, also carrying the bags in. You're the only the guys are just standing around.
Guys.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
This Q&A is brought to you by Staccato. This is also from Kafir at Kafir_JC. And first, a statement. Your show, The Terminal List, is the only TV show I watch. I'm not a big TV guy. Also prior military, so thank you for all the effort in making the tactics, gear, etc. realistic. Question: how difficult was it for the actors to train and learn tactics for the show? And yeah, this is an interesting one because I always thought that they would go to some sort of a boot camp somewhere, immerse themselves in the training for weeks on end and then step into the show. And with the schedules and the time that it takes, the short amount of time that you have allotted for television versus a film, it's a little bit little bit different. So we're extremely fortunate that we work with actors. A lot of them know what they're doing. A lot of guys that really know their way around firearms already. And then we have a set full of prior military. So Jared Shaw is there every single day. My buddy from the SEAL teams who plays Boozer in the show, also technical advisor, writer, executive producer, and he is on it every single day looking for that technical authenticity. And the actors all want to do this right. They all they think it's so important to they want, if a SEAL watches it or any special operations guy watches this sort of thing, they want them to say, these guys put in some work and they got it right. They're pieing their corners, they're doing all those things, and they're doing it the right way. They're not covering their buddy, they have good light discipline and all those different things. So the actors want to get it right. And then they have access to Jared Shaw right there each and every day. Max Adams, former Army Ranger, he's there each and every day, executive producer, number 2 in the writer's room there as well. And then there's a host of other guys who are technical advisors who are there each and every day too. Ray Mendoza, who just directed Warfare, that movie. If you haven't seen that, highly recommend you check out Warfare. He was there first season as a technical advisor and then has been in and out on the other shows as well. So we have a whole host of guys that have a lot of experience in the real world that are out there making sure that the actors get it right. And then sometimes it's the actor gets it right and just a camera angle makes it look weird or makes it look like they're doing something they weren't really doing. And so you have to be very cognizant of that as well, especially when you get to the editing room, when you've done all your filming and you're in the editing room going through those episodes one by one, and then you have to really take a look. And we have these guys in there then as well. So Max is in there and Jared is in there with Dave DiGilio, the showrunner, so they can say, I know that guy didn't mess that up in real life when we filmed it, but it doesn't look quite right here. Let's find another angle, or let's find another shot, or let's tell that part of the story another way, because authenticity is so important to us and those actors. So it's a huge part of what we do.
And then we move into episode 5, and you're in the hostel, and this is a crazy sequence you and Ben, yeah, fighting your way from whatever floor you were on down to the exit and out. And I wasn't there for that. How many days was that, and what was it like to film that fight sequence? Because it's crazy.
It was very intense. I have to say that that building is incredible. It's just a side note. It was part of the Jewish ghetto in World War II, which made it more like it had weight for me anyways. But meeting Ben again and having to explain what was my under mission. And it's almost like, I'm now in his mercy, and I have to tell him that I have a mission. There's a secret. It's my own mission. And now you need to trust that I'm saying the truth after you feel like I've betrayed you. And so that was so interesting, because I think for Eliza, just seeing how personally he took that is kind of let her understand how he saw her. And for her, she had a mission. She had a mission to follow. And she did that. And actually, like I said, she failed. And as she says after that in the screen room, is that how you say it?
Old theater or something. I think it was like an old abandoned theater.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she says, if I wanted you dead, why shoot you in the plates? Mm-hmm. So as an operator, she fails because she's supposed to not leave trails, not leave anyone, coming looking for her. And for Ben, it was just the sting of betrayal. And it's just so hard to then explain, look, you need to trust me now. But how is he supposed to trust me after feeling so betrayed? And then we don't even have time for that. And now we need to fight together. So just being a team, breaking it off, and then being a team again was just so fun to play.
Yeah.
It was so great to play.
Yeah, that was great, because you're not just doing the action. Just
obstacle on top of the other, because you have to now fight together as a team, but then he doesn't trust me. He doesn't give me a gun. And how am I supposed to improvise like a data from the scenery? What can I use to help the situation? We need to escape this. We need to save ourselves together.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
because it wasn't like so the other action sequence right before that episode before that tunnel sequence, it's like all action, mission, boom, okay, ambush, adapt, boom, get out. But it's like all action. And now you have to do the action in this hostel sequence in episode 5, but you also have to act and not just do the action and not just act doing the action, but have this essentially this dynamic between these two characters with the trust factor, eventually having to getting the weapon and getting to fight in there, but have that evolution throughout this fight sequence is really a cool thing to watch as a viewer and see how that turns out. It was really cool.
gave a lot of richness to the action because
Mhm.
just action by itself is sometimes can be flat.
Mhm.
And I think what happened to them and how they save themselves and all through that sequence is just so much meat and it's so rich with what they're going through and just like bits and pieces. Like, is he going to trust me now? Can I try and reach for the gun? Now I'm leaving with the gun. And then she goes, and there's such a beautiful moment where we leave the building and I'm with the gun and he looks at me not knowing. And we both like, it's like we say nothing. And what's going to happen? What's the next move? And then Eliza just, she disarms her weapon. Just to let him know that he can trust her.
Yeah.
At least for another few minutes to then maybe try again to explain what she was really, what's her real mission, what the real mission is.
Yeah.
Such a yeah.
Yeah, that is a why that episode is, I mean, it has the hostile sequence, it has the tall fight sequence in that apartment, which is insane. Yeah.
Insane. Beautiful.
Yeah, and then has your final the sequence in there as well. But before we get to that one, is what was it like to be in the theater and do the theater scenes now? Because now you have to have like a tender moment, trust, distrust, the future possibility that was hinted at first with the motorcycle in very or, earlier episode. This bonding, the poetry at the book bar, talking about your daughter, like all of these things, and now you're in this room together, surveilling the safe house or the hotel across this where you're supposed to meet up, and now you have to have this scene after all of that. It's another powerful one.
Yeah. I was looking forward to that sequence to shoot that because there's a chance for both of them to be unarmed and unguard and there's a real moment of okay, let's put everything aside and be real in a way that didn't happen for Ben and didn't happen for Eliza. And having her still being in the mission and saving herself because now she needs to make him trust her again. And how difficult that was and he seemed so fragile in that moment because that one stings so you really see how much it wounded him.
Yeah.
And I think I think only at the end you see that she was right. So then you go back to that moment and you're like, she was right. She was telling the truth.
Yeah.
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 She was saving her life. She had to also put her survival mode on because he can kill her at any moment. And so I love that moment where it's both. It's both real but still on the mission. She has to get back to her daughter. She has to stay alive. And she's going to say everything that she needs to say in order to make him realize what really happened, why they're both here, you know, and the sadness of, in this life. And she says something so beautiful. In another life, someone knows us because in this line of work, no one really knows who you are. You always keep a secret and you're never truly honest. And I think that's where they're both they both understand deeply what that means to be in that line of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. You did such a great job in there. And then there's the watch shot in there, of course. I always notice that. There's like your hands are together. I'm like, oh, there's the watch. This one right here. But then I'm a watch person. But then you get a mini the next day and to have this conversation. There's a little bit of I don't know if it's levity, a tiny bit of levity, a different tone. You're in there. It's now daylight. It's not dark like you have just been in two dark scenes with the hostel and then in the theater. Now it's day and you're in a mini and you're moving to this next objective together and have a personal moment. And then the motorcycle appears.
You said no contact with Mossad. Might be a little too late for that. Out, 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 out!
And that is about it. And that is it for your character. And and it's cool how it ends up also at the end with Mo getting some payback same way with somebody else. But what was it like going into those the final scenes, knowing that this was it?
So sad. I mean, I didn't end the shoot on that day, which was nice. Um, yeah, there's this. It was fun shooting that. There was something light about the both of them. Just a little bit, the sarcasm of Ben and watching him a bit at ease, almost
Yeah.
trusting the world again for a few seconds before he realizes, no, you can't. You actually can't rest and you can't trust nothing.
Mhm.
And um and I love that how they're both relaxed for a few seconds before that happens. It's just so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. And then Simple Man, finish it on Simple Man as he's limping out of there with the bearings. It's such a great ending to that's such a great episode.
This Q&A is brought to you by HUXWRX. This is from Roxanne3925 on Instagram. Was it your writing that gave Ben so many layers, or did Taylor create his version of Ben? We need more Ben Edwards either way. I agree with you. Yes, so this is something I wish I had done better in the novel because in the TV show Terminalist Season 1, Taylor Kitsch brought so much to his portrayal of Ben Edwards that I did not have in the book. And when I watched Taylor do this, actually in the writer's room, it started there, in the writer's room, watching them add these layers to the character and then see what Taylor did with that and take it to a whole other level. The whole time I was just thinking, oh, I can't believe that I didn't do this in the book. He was, in the book, he was pretty one-dimensional. And then Taylor brought this humanity to this character, this depth, and Taylor's just such an incredible actor, such an amazing human being as well. And he gave this character life. He had a lot to work with, I think, too. That character in that first season is kind of has some parallels with the Jules Landry character in the upcoming A True Believer, because these actors can come to these characters who, if people have read the novels, they know that they're not the good guys in there. Spoiler alert, I should say ahead of time. But so what I saw Luke Hemsworth do with Jules Landry reminded me of what Ben Edwards did, or what Taylor Kitsch did with Ben Edwards in The Terminal List. So yeah, it was Taylor 100% and the writers' room that created this other version of Ben, very different from the book, but hands down way better than I did it in the book.
Everything you need to finish this.
I can't remember. It's the last time I saw you when you weren't in the scene, but we were getting ready. We are getting near the end, and I think you were flying out that day or the next day, but it was the dinner sequence or lunch over the meal with everybody in the final episode that we're filming, and it was my first time noticing also how hard it is to film a meal when you have to shoot or something again or move the cameras around and have the same amount of wine in people's glass and the same amount of food, that sort of thing. It was really interesting just to see that from a technical perspective and a continuity perspective. But you came down there that day, and we got to say goodbye and talk and stuff. And what was cool about that scene, though, even though you weren't in it, you are, because Tull's in there, and she now is taking on more of your role as that leader orchestrator. She's critical to what happens because they can't do what they're going to do with the without the technical side. And then she's also dressed a little differently. She's dressed more like instead of like being like, I mean, she's not a teenager, but instead of like this younger type of person that we meet, clothing, watch, hair, all that stuff, video games that we see in the beginning. Now she's even dressed more, acting more like you in that scene, which is pretty cool. But did you note that, and what was that like to be down there and see that?
It was Sono did such an amazing work, our costume designer, um, to show how, because Eliza is dead now, or is she? Now Tal has to step in and be, and she matures into that, and she knows she has to finish the mission and understand it in depth what I was doing, and just see it all the way through. And I think it was really well made as far as costume. It gave her weight that she
Mhm.
didn't have at the beginning of the show, which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah, I really think it's so cool, and it was so awesome that you were there that day, and it's just awesome. And then in the final moment, once again, you're not in a scene, but you are, and it's when Ben delivers the bracelet and the book of poetry to Noah, and that's a super powerful scene.
Yeah, it is. Just seeing the seeing what it costs, what the missions like that, what war, the layers of people who paid the price, and just giving her that book, and kind of gave the sense really that I'm there. And it was such a sweet moment of him going to the table, and also not taking, it wasn't about him at all. He just delivers that to her, and he disappears, which I thought was so nice. He didn't say anything, he didn't introduce himself. It wasn't about him. It was about the mother and daughter, and now she's alone in the world. She's dressed like a soldier, and the generational trauma, it was important to 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 show that, I felt.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. What we talked about at the beginning, I think that really shows that multi-generational impact of these things. Because a lot of time you shoot just, an action film or whatever it is, and it's focused on that particular thing. But when you do something that's has more layers to it, more depth to it, where you're humanizing these characters like we did in Dark Wolf, then to be able to illustrate that there is a multi-generational impact to all of these things that you see in the news, or these things that if this show was true, that there would be multi-generational impacts for everyone on the outspec, for the supporting cast and the next generations of the supporting cast. Like it affects everyone. And I think that's something that differentiates us.
Yeah, like Mo with the girl in the hotel, and you see, first of all, I loved that you guys tapped into the PTSD syndrome of how Mo carries so much on his, everyone. I mean, every one of them, and just seeing the next generation being so affected by their parents' work, missions, whatever, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think that even added weight now that everything that's happened in Israel over the last couple of years has even added weight to that bracelet. That last scene at the end, it's so powerful. Was there a scene that either unfolded differently than you expected, or is there a favorite scene, or when you look back at this experience over the last year plus, what do you think about when you think back on the Dark Wolf experience?
It was one of the best experiences, really. Um, Not just because it was creatively so good and it gave me the opportunity to play someone so rounded and interesting to me, um, but the cast and the creators and the place itself and the journey. It's always a journey, you know. It's a part of your life. It's months that you see these people and you spend time with them and and just creating, you know, there's so many moments of the day where you come thinking that it's going to look a certain way and then losing control and giving that up and being in the moment and creating something like cooking something together. And it was just very inspiring for me. It gave me a lot of I remember that time. I was just so happy. I was really happy.
Yeah, so much fun. You have a new addition to the family. How's everything going?
I I do. It's incredible. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's a dream come true, honestly. I mean, yeah, I had a baby. If someone didn't catch what you're talking about, but yeah, it's I have a baby boy and I'm just so in love with him and I'm really excited. I'm just happy.
Oh my goodness. And you did that. You couldn't come to the premiere because of that. So you were greatly missed at the premiere.
I know. It looked so awesome. I was feeling FOMO in many ways, but it was 2 weeks after birth and I was just in the haze of just holding my baby and so yeah, that was
Yeah, you made the right decision. That is definitely the right decision. Although you were missed and it was so much fun. I wish because we only played the first episode also. And I wish that we had played both of them because it changes so much, as you know, from that first episode to the second episode. So I wish they'd done the two and had it been like, you know, an hour 45 or whatever that adds up to. I think that's the move. So in the future, I'm going to push for that. And then in the future, also, I'm going to push for a theatrical release for a weekend, like do a special release, first two episodes, release it as a movie to get people in, do a whole campaign around that and see what that hybrid looks
yeah.
like. So maybe
Smart
have some.
because the first episode felt like the ending like a dissolve between the you know the terminalist and then what we're going to see but then not seeing yet what's coming and so it was like a transition episode which you guys did so in such a smart way like you get it instantly where we're at and yeah it's very smart.
Well, thank you. And I mean, then it goes into that espionage thriller into Europe. So a huge shift. So I wish we could have done that, but it was a blast. We all got back together, and it was interesting. My agent was there, and she was like looking around at the after party, and she was like, "I've been to hundreds. I think she said thousands, but regardless, I've been to a lot of these things, and I've never been to one where I can see that this cast truly loves each other, wants to be together. You guys are just catching up, having a great time." And she was like really amazed by that, which was really cool to see.
It really I felt that on set and it happened really quickly I have to say. So we're strangers and then you come together and then you have to portray a team that is coming together and like creating um, closeness because you're going on a mission and then it happened so quickly offset and we started laughing really quickly and just this familiarity of and I don't know if it's the what the show is about is like we need each other to survive that makes the offset just really close very fast so it was yeah
Yeah,
I
I think
miss
people
you
can sense
guys.
that. I know. I miss everybody. Everybody misses everybody. Every time I do the when I do the podcast, that's what everybody says. They're like, "We need a season two. Let's get everybody back together again. It was so much fun." So we're working on it. I actually have my Dark Wolf little jacket on right now with there and there. So I got that.
Merch that I didn't get I want all the merch
You
oh
didn't get the merch.
so
I'm gonna make a note right now and make sure that you get some merch. So we'll do that for sure. And then I have Taylor's watch on from the show right there. That's the one he wore on screen. So got that on my
well, you
wrist
need
as
the bike
well.
too. You should get the
But
bike.
I know, seriously, I think the bike's we had to leave behind. But my wife would be like, "Oh, great, that's just what we need. Another bike in the garage that we don't ride." Yeah, yeah. But what was your path into acting to get you up to this stage where you could tackle this character? What was your path? Did you know from an early age? Because I knew you were a dancer. I mean, incredible. What was your path into that, and then from there into acting?
So I started ballet when I was 3, and I've done it almost every day from a very young age. So when I was 12, I was getting to be more professional, and I loved it. It was such a creative way for me to express myself and to tell stories. And in dance, there's something so abstract about it because it's not verbal. And so I was dating an actor, and I would rehearse lines with him. And suddenly I felt like there's another way for me to tell a story on stage. I do a lot of theater. That's my thing. And for me, just it made me fall in love with language, really. And reading plays and having such rich lingual experience, and it blew my mind. I fell in love with it so in such a deep way, and it made me want to do it for life. And so I got into acting school for 3 years, and then I got to the theater doing both, Chekhov and then Chicago and West Side Story. And so I was able to blend dance into acting, which was, I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, after many years in theater, I got the role in Fauda, and then everything kind of set off from there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was that like, the Fauda experience for you? I think a lot of people know you here from that. So what was that experience like? How did that come about?
It was very special. I remember I was looking for, because I was doing so much theater, I wanted to get into TV and film, and I was looking for the right project, and I got this audition and I read it, and something about the way they wrote the scene, that it just blew my mind, and I felt it in my body. I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't know what it is. It was like a secret project. It had no name. It really, it wasn't sure what it was about. And then a few weeks later, I got, the call that I got it, and then they sent me the scripts, and it was just so, I think it was the first time that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was told in such a way. I don't want to get too much into it because we're talking about Terminal List. But there was a gentleness about not putting anyone as the bad guy. And at the end of the day in Fauda, you realize that in war, it's always a lose-lose situation. There's so many prices to pay at the end of the day, even though, personally, the characters believe that they're doing the right thing, and they always serve the higher cause of what makes them do what they do, but then someone always loses. And so that I love that show.
Yeah.
I thought it did
Okay.
it did very well for all of us. Yeah.
So good. Maybe to humanize it. I think about that when I'm writing the nonfiction in particular. Have the first one out is on Beirut 1983, and then the next one's going to be on Pan Am 103, which went down over Lockerbie, Scotland, in 1988. But the humanizing these events and like showing that hey, there are real people involved in them, and it has these incidents have and these wars have multi-generational impacts, not just for the people who don't make it home, but even for those who do. So I think Fowler did a great job of humanizing something that looks complicated from the outside looking in.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah.
And how was the training for that? Did you because when you got to us for Dark Wolf, like you look like you'd been running and gunning your whole life. Like it was so natural for you the way you moved with the weapons, the pistols, the rifles, and everything else. I mean, it really was natural. Like you wouldn't have never have guessed that. Like you could have said like, oh, I bet that she actually does have this incredible background doing this for an entire lifetime up to this point in the show, like your character essentially does. What was the training like for Fauda?
It was incredible, and it was so hard because I wanted to look like she knows what she's doing. I mean, Nurit is very different than Eliza, right? Eliza is she knows better than Nurit, I feel like. But the training that I had to do Nurit was very meticulous, and I did Krav Maga and guns, and disarming the gun and building it again because I wanted to feel very, very comfortable. For me, it's key to come to set super prepared, so then I can then play all my instruments in a way that gives me freedom, and for Eliza, it was key for me because you meet an agent and you guys wrote her so well in that sense, because it was really, when I first read the scripts, I was like, she's the real thing. She's done it for so long. She's so professional. She knows exactly what to do. She trusts herself. She has this quiet confidence with what she knows needs to be done. And it was important for me to give her the physicality to support that. To just, she knows what she's doing. She's comfortable. You can trust her. She's the girl you want next to you. She's capable, and yeah. So I love that. And being a dancer really, really helps, because at the end of the day, a lot of action is choreography, right? The way you handle the gun, the way you scan the scenery, the way your body moves with the team also, and with the camera.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to watch. I come to set and I watch from the outside, and it's interesting because it's more than choreography with you. Meaning, when we're filming, yeah, that's all choreographed, and we're doing the thing, and the camera's here and there, and all this stuff. But when the camera is not filming, also how comfortable you are with these things and the way you handle it continues off camera, and so you're handling these things like a total professional off camera as well as on camera. So, and not everyone does that in Hollywood. A lot of times they'll come and they'll, do the thing that they're told, and the camera captures the angle. And then after it's over, like the armorer comes up and grabs the weapon or whatever else. But you are comfortable off camera with these things. And so that translates right into film. And it's really cool to watch.
To Jared also, because Jared Shaw, one of the creators of the show, and I really stuck by him because he's so, I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing, and it felt very safe to just drink all his information, and I just wanted to learn everything that he knows, and it gave me even more confidence, beside the fact that I already came with such experience from Fauda and from other action films that I've done. And so, yeah. So thanks, Jared.
Jared Shaw, he's the reason we got to do this, because he gave the first book to Chris Pratt before it even hit shelves, and Chris optioned it, and off we went to the races. And Jared, former Navy SEAL with me, and then now he is an executive producer, a writer, actor, plays Boozer, and a stunt coordinator on the show, technical advisor. So he has all those hats to wear. So thank you, Jared.
Yeah. He's the best human ever, really.
This is true. So thankful for Jared, such an amazing guy. And I can't thank you enough for doing this, for bringing so much to not just this role, but to everybody involved. And it was just so fun to get to know you. And I just have so much respect for you and everything that you've done and are doing. And on that line of questioning, before we wrap things up, what's next for you? Could you have some plans going forward, or what would you like to do, or what's the future hold?
Well, I'm going back to Chicago. I'm doing Chicago the musical in Israel.
Oh yeah, okay.
And now I have a baby, and there's some things cooking up here in Israel, and yeah, we'll see. I'm so happy and content, and I still working really hard, and yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, one thing that I didn't get to do in my time, the only thing I regret from my time in the SEAL teams is that I didn't get to do the exchange or visit Flotilla 13 over in Israel. And I wish I could have done that, because we do have a exchange thing with them, or a visiting thing, whatever it's called, exchanging tactics, techniques, procedures, looking at equipment, that sort of a thing. And I wish I could have done that. And Flotilla 13 is the Israeli version of our SEALs over here, for those watching or listening. And then I put Israel into two of the books in a very major way. But during the time that I was writing those sequences, those chapters, that it was very hard to get in and out of Israel because of COVID. It was like locked down. And even if you were an Israeli citizen, it was like difficult to get in and out. And then some other things happen where it gets locked down and it was just so I haven't been. But I did send those books to people in Israel that had 3 generations read them. And they read those parts and got back to me and let me know that they can't believe that I wrote those chapters the way I did, having not been there. And that's what I was going for. So I put so much heart and soul into those chapters. But I wish I could have been there just for that. There's just something that when you put it in the ground somewhere. So
Now you have 2 people you have to come visit. Me and Tal.
yes,
Me and
yes, I would love to come see you guys, and I will definitely make it over there at some point. I cannot believe that I have not been there yet. So that's on my short list. So I'd love to see you over there. I'd love to watch Chicago over there and cheer you on, and that would be amazing. And I just want to thank you so much for being so awesome and for bringing everything that you brought to this character. It's just so cool, and I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was such a blessing tapping into Eliza and creating her. And I felt so privileged and I was intrigued, and it was always interesting and such deep work on that character. And I loved it. So thank you so much for creating her. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it was an honor.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Best wishes, and reach out if there's ever anything that I can do.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dark Wolf Season 1 podcast. If you like this video, check out The Fourth Option, my upcoming novel, May 12th, coming in hot, hardcover ebook and audiobook. Find the trailer here and the author insight video here.